Hello and welcome to the Butler Collegian Newscast. I'm Tori Dennis.
And I'm Marisa Justy. We've got lots to cover on the newscast today. We'll start with some announcements, then we'll hear from Maeve in the Sports Corner. And lastly, we'll talk to Ben, who sat down with the president of Student Government Association. So let's get started.
Last week, Butler University presented its inaugural Ovid Butler's Founder Award to Sigma Gamma Rho International. This award was in recognition of the historically black sorority's founding at Butler 100 years ago. It was presented by University President James Danko on February 17th. The ceremony featured Sigma Gamma Rho member Molly Ford, who gave the live-streamed keynote address.
Weather here at Butler has been rough this past week. With mostly rain, Butler is facing some major flooding issues. Clarendon Avenue, 44th Street, and many other roads surrounding Butler are collecting water and causing traffic issues, as well as parking problems. Both streets and yards are accumulating several inches of water. Temperatures stayed consistent throughout the rest of the week, with an additional few inches of rain.
We are in the 7th week of classes for the spring semester, and COVID cases across students and faculty are relatively low. The COVID case rate has significantly decreased since the beginning of this semester, with only one active case on campus. It will be interesting to see if there's a change in the cases on campus after spring break in the coming weeks.
Butler Blue has been making his presence known around the country. With men's basketball in conference play, Blue has been busy traveling. Starting on the East Coast, Blue went to New York City and ended in Connecticut, with a pit stop in Philly. His last trip was to the Windy City when basketball took on DePaul. Stay updated on Blue's journey by following his social media at the Butler Blue the 4th. Speaking of sports, we will now head to Maeve in the Sports Corner.
Thanks, guys. Welcome back to the Butler Sports Corner. I've got lots to cover today as spring sports are picking up, so let's get started. The women's basketball team is finishing up their season. They had a tough loss yesterday at Seton Hall with a final score of 55-84. Selena Taborn led the Dogs with 15 points, but Seton Hall player Sydney Cooks scored a career-high 35 points and led the way for the Pirates. Despite two 8-0 scoring runs from the Dogs, they ultimately could not make a complete comeback. We have seen this exact pattern throughout the entire season with Butler, as they are now 1-24 overall. Their last two home games this season are on Friday versus Villanova at 7 and Sunday versus Georgetown at 2. The softball team headed to the spring games in Leesburg, Florida this past weekend and left with a winning record. They went 3-2 in this tournament, putting them at 7-3 for the season so far. Offensive leaders in the tournament included Ellie Boyer and Ella White, who both had triples this weekend. Pitcher Carly Ricketts was also a standout player and earned Big East Pitcher of the Week after surrendering no runs in 13 innings. Looking ahead, the team will travel down to Chattanooga, Tennessee this weekend to play in the Frost Classic tournament, where they hope to add more wins onto the season. The women's swim team will round out their season starting today, February 23rd, at the Big East tournament. Butler will be participating along with 6 other Big East teams and the tournament spans until Saturday. The Dogs took 6th last year and 5th 3 consecutive years before that, so they're looking to score a little higher up on the podium this time around. The men's and women's track teams will also be competing in their indoor Big East tournament this weekend, so we wish them the best of luck. The men's basketball team is rounding out their season with just a couple more games until their Big East tournament. It was a tough loss for the Dogs on Sunday afternoon as they fell 70-71 against Providence in overtime. Despite being up 33-20 against the number 8 team at the half, Butler could not finish this game the way they wanted to. Chuck Harris led the team in scoring with 17 points, followed by Aaron Thompson with 16. This tough loss puts Butler at 13-15 on the season. The Dogs are facing Seton Hall in New Jersey tonight at 8:30 and Marquette on Saturday the 26th in Milwaukee, where they are hoping to get rid of that losing record. Then they'll round out the season facing Villanova at Hinkle Fieldhouse on March 5th. That's all we've got in the Sports Corner today. For the Butler Collegian, I'm Maeve. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Maeve. The time has come for the 7th annual Butler Day of Giving, taking place on February 23rd. The university is attracting ambassadors with 4 tiers of prizes, including tickets to the Butler versus Villanova men's basketball game and a meet and greet with Blue for certain high-level donors. To find out more information on how to become an ambassador, go to butler.edu/Day of Giving.
Coffee lovers struggled last week with the temporary closing of Starbucks here on campus. Due to maintenance needs, Starbucks was closed for service, with coffee being a staple in most people's lives. The students here on campus had to rely on the Butler Brew for their caffeine source. Luckily, the Brew decided to stay open late due to the difficulties with Starbucks. After a week of fixing problems, Starbucks is back open.
Multimedia reporter Ben Buttrick sat down with current Student Government Association president to review the latest candidates for the SGA election.
Thanks, Tori and Marisa. Hello, I'm Ben Buttrick, multimedia reporter for the Butler Collegian, and today I'm joined by Student Government Association President Will Gigerich to discuss this year's SGA election. But before we dive into any questions about this year's election, what was your thoughts on the election experience that you had before eventually becoming president?
Well, but it's a really stressful time of the year. I will be completely honest, I think most people don't get anything done in the academic front during that time.
Yeah.
But really is trying to get out and meet as many constituents as possible and really trying to kind of get your platform out. SGA oftentimes doesn't communicate everything to the best of their ability, and so trying to push that, especially during that week, and realize to help students decide what they want the course of SGA to be moving forward is really the most important thing, but really stressful time for everybody involved.
Yeah, I believe it. And we definitely saw both groups of candidates doing that this week as well. And so what are some of your biggest takeaways or just greatest memories that you're going to take away from being the president of SGA?
So I think during the course of my time at Butler in the last 3 years in SGA's really become my family. And so the course of that, I really enjoy the late night phone calls.
Yeah.
Sometimes 18 calls from the same person in one day, dealing with different crises that we have or different initiatives that we're trying to launch. So I really just enjoy kind of the drama of it all and being able to not only help the student body, but make a lot of good friends along the way.
Yeah, for sure. And regardless of which pair of candidates wins this year's election, what are your thoughts on the election process as a whole this year and how it went, and kind of your hopes for the new president?
Yeah, so this year's been a big rebuilding year for SGA, not only launching new initiatives, but also trying to kind of build upon the foundation of the past and build SGA to new levels. And so I hope that the new president continues upon that and really helps to make SGA more transparent and authentic, but also help to continue to represent student voices to the best of their ability.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for your time, Will, and back to you, Marisa.
That's all for this week's Butler Collegian Newscast.
To stay up to date with all things news on Butler's campus, visit us online at thebutlercollegian.com or on Twitter at Butler Collegian. For the Butler Collegian, I'm Tori Dennis.
And I'm Marisa Justy. Thanks for watching and have a great week, dogs.